Alrighty. This installment on the podcast series, I guess YouTube video, whichever way you want to view it. This will be called my 2020 National Championship review and I guess analysis. I did not write a outline for this, mainly because I just wanted to be my true feeling. I didn't want to have anything scripted, anything written down. Just gonna go off the top of my head, really, which I feel like will yield the best results surprisingly. But I do have the stats pulled up, and I'm going to go through a couple differences and that really made the difference in this game. I had some good reviews on my previous installment. Got some good positive feedback, and the people who gave me the feedback wanted to have this type of installment into the series, so I decided to do that. As far as the off season, I'm not 100% sure on how much I will post then, but definitely as we get closer to the season, I will definitely try to do that. But let's dive in here. I'm looking at the stats right now. First of all, I wanted to say LSU was the better team. LSU had the better year. LSU was on a roll. And I think a lot of things did not play into Clemson's favor and played into LSU's favor in this game. That gave LSU the win, or really helped LSU win the game. The fact that it was in New Orleans, the fact that LSU was able to get explosive plays down the field, and we'll talk about that and why they're able to get those types of things down the field. I thought LSU played a really, really good game, and I thought this was their year, and I'm happy to concede the win to them. I'm not going to be like Ohio State fans and claim that the refs messed it up, although there were some really bad calls both ways. Both ways, really bad calls. I'm not going to say the refs screwed over Clemson or anything of that nature. It wasn't that. LSU was just the better team, and LSU deserved the victory. They were the better team, and they should have won, and that's credit to them for that. But I do want to point out two key stats in this game that I really think made the difference. The first is going to be third down conversions. LSU went 4 of 14, which does not sound that good, and honestly, it's not. It really isn't. It's 2 of 7, which is way below 50%, right? It's not that good of a conversion rate. And if I were to tell you that LSU was going to go 4 of 14 on third downs the day before the game, you probably would have told me Clemson won. And Clemson would have won. Here was the problem. Clemson went 1 of 11 on third downs. That was the killer in the game. And the reason why that's the killer is it translates to time of possession. When you're unable to convert third downs and you go 3 and out, or you go, basically 3 and out, and you're force yourself to throw, to put yourself into third and long situations, your defense is out there the entire game, and the time possession was a big factor in this game. With LSU having 34 minutes and Clemson having 25, was a big part of this game that LSU just really controlled. I thought early on Clemson did a great job neutralizing the crowd. The crowd was out of it for the first quarter and a half. Clemson dominated the game. Clemson was the better team the first quarter and a half. They were the more disciplined team. If you look at LSU, they had 118 yards in penalties throughout the game. I did not think LSU was very disciplined. I don't think they were very I don't want to say well coached, because I don't want to say because Orgeron's a great coach, but I don't think they were coached to the discipline of a normal national champion. When you're looking at programs like Alabama and Clemson, their players are so well disciplined. They do what they're told to. They don't smack talk. They don't dance. They don't act like they're going to put a ring on their finger in the third quarter. They don't act like that. They're a much more disciplined, calm, collected team. And that's fine. LSU can talk all the smack they want. They were the better team, and they won the game. And you know what? They talk smack, and they had everything to back it up. And there's nothing wrong with that. I thought Clemson was the more disciplined team. I thought LSU was the better team. And I think that showed that night. As I mentioned earlier, Clemson dominated the game for the first quarter and a half. And the problem was, and I knew this was going to come back to bite them, when Clemson at the beginning of the game was getting great field position, starting drives on the 50-yard line or even in LSU territory, and they weren't able to convert on third downs, those wasted possessions really, really hurt. Clemson had 2 or 3 opportunities to get out to a double-digit lead, 14-point lead, 21-point lead multiple times in the beginning of the game, and they just weren't able to capitalize on it. And you have to give LSU credit. Dave Aranda had a really good plot on defense, and they they wreaked havoc on Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence I thought was a little bit off. I don't know what I can attribute that to, but you know what? He's played 30 games and he's lost one of them, okay? He was bound to lose one, and if you're going to lose one, would you rather lose in the national championship? You would absolutely want to lose in the national championship compared to a regular season game. He had one bad game. And we'll get to why that's important in a second, and what I look forward to seeing next year. But we're already at 5 minutes, so we're doing pretty well. But yeah, the third down conversions really hurt Clemson. The first downs are pretty much even. It's 29-23. I guess not even, but 6. I mean, Clemson's just got to get a couple of those third down conversions, and that changes the game. It was just when it rained, it started to pour really, really hard for LSU, and that was tough because Clemson had multiple opportunities to really shut them down and really extend this lead and put their foot down like they should have done, and they didn't do it. And you have to give credit to LSU's defense for keeping them in that game at the beginning, and then LSU's offense took over. At the beginning of the second half, a lot of people were saying, boy, if LSU scores coming out of the second half, this game could get really, really bad. It was 17-7, and then LSU came back, and they were up 28-17 at the break, especially with that last touchdown helped by the pass interference on 3rd and 19. I really don't get that call. The play call itself, rushing 3 and dropping 8, is just mind-boggling to me. I've never understood that. If I was a defensive coordinator and I had 3rd and 19, I would send at least 5, probably 6, and leave my corners on islands. I don't care. It's 3rd and 19. If you send 6 people, you're going to get to the quarterback within 3 seconds. And you get to the quarterback within 3 seconds, these guys are not going to get down the field that far. I mean, they might get 10, 15 yards downfield, but you got to remember, you might say, well, if guys running a 4.5 40 at a wide receiver position, then he should definitely be able to get 20 yards up the field in definitely 3 seconds. But you got to remember, a 40-yard dash is without any contact, without any pads, right? It's a little different of an atmosphere, especially not when you have a cornerback right in front of you who's pressing you at the line. So it's a little bit different. That play call really hurt Clemson in that last touchdown, but Clemson responded. They came out of halftime, stopped LSU, and scored. It was 28-25, and I was like, oh, here we go. And then Clemson stopped him again. And Lawrence, I was telling my dad, we were watching the game, I was like, Lawrence has got a chance to be the hero. He can right all the wrongs right now, and he can. I thought if Clemson was able to retake the lead and go up what would have been 32-28, I really thought Clemson would have won the game. And I thought they would have gone convincingly, because LSU would have had all the pressure on them again, and that's when they started to break, and they hadn't felt that the entire year, and I thought Clemson had a really, really good shot to win at that point. And you know what? It was just a third down conversions. At no point could Clemson establish a rhythm on third down, or really any down. I don't ever think Clemson was in complete control of the game plan. I thought they looked a little flustered, especially on offense. Defense played about as well as it could. And that some of that has to do with the offensive play calling, which let me say was absolutely atrocious. ETN was averaging definitely over 5, probably closer to 6 or 7 yards a carry, and you feed him 1 time per series is absolutely horrible. If I could have done it all again, I would have given ETN the ball on 1st and 2nd down and then set up a short throw, because ETN probably would have gotten the first down every single drive on the first 2 runs. And guess what? You force LSU to play up tight. We got the wide receivers that can win one-on-ones. LSU's DBs were great, but you know what? We got the receivers that can match up with them, and you go downfield then. I thought Clemson's game plan was pass to run, and I really thought it should have been run to pass. That really hurt. But overall, I will say this. LSU had a great year this year. LSU will not be back next year. They just won't. They might. I don't think it's going to happen, and I would be willing to put money that it won't happen. Clemson will be right back here next year. They will be in Miami for the national championship game. This loss will motivate this entire offseason. I really wish Clemson would has a good class coming in. We have the number 1 class coming in. Clemson's going to be just fine. This program is not going anywhere, and for those of you who think it is, you're absolutely wrong. Clemson is a brand that's here to stay, and LSU had a really, really good year, and they will always have 2019 to look back on. But you got to remember that Alabama is still in that division, and Alabama had a really bad year this year in comparison to their previous years with Tua going down, Alabama's going to be back too. And Nick Saban's back. And I think, honestly, you'll probably have Clemson-Alabama Part 6 in the national championship game last year. A lot of things went bad for Alabama this year, and if those things didn't happen, you would have had Clemson-Alabama Part 6 this year. LSU is great, but you know what? Alabama is still really good, and they've had their number the last couple years. And with all the coaches leaving for LSU, and Delpit going to the pros, and all the other guys on defense, and all the guys on offense, and Joe Burrow going to probably be the number one pick by the Bengals, and Dave Aranda going to take the Baylor job, and all these guys leaving, I don't think LSU is going to be back next year. The only person Clemson is losing off this staff is Jeff Scott. He's going to be the coach at USF. Honestly, I like Jeff Scott. I think he did a good job balancing, but I thought the play calling in crucial moments of this game was terrible. I'm glad he gets to go be a head coach. If you're an assistant coach, obviously you want to be a head coach, and he can go pursue that at USF, and he can build the program that he wants to there, which will be great for him. Etienne comes back for Clemson. Obviously, Isaiah Simmons is gone, but Etienne coming back for Clemson makes a huge impact on the offense, especially to say balance. We're going to be a run-first team next year. But I mean, you got to remember, you still got Ross, who's going to be a junior, Ngata, who's going to be a sophomore, Frank Ladson Jr., who will be a sophomore. You got a lot of guys coming in next year that are going to be, or maybe Ngata's going to be a junior, I don't know. You got a lot of guys who are going to step up next year. They're going to get their chance in the limelight, and I fully expect Clemson to be right back here next year. The schedule is a little bit tougher, I will say that, but Clemson's schedule this year was insanely easy. The schedule, though, let me clarify this. The schedule had zero to do with the outcome of this game. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And anyone who tells you it did, no, that was not the reason Clemson lost the game. Clemson lost this game because they could not convert on third downs. 1 of 11. You cannot do that on third downs. You just can't. And historically, Clemson has played unbelievably well on third downs in national championship games. I don't know what the difference was this year. I thought the play calling was worse, but I've already talked about that, but looking into next year, I think Clemson's going to be right back here. I really do. I think the playoff is to be expected based off the schedule and past precedents. Obviously, you never want to take anything for granted, but you should expect that with the program, and you see the motivation coming back next year. I really see that as a possibility. I don't think LSU will be back. I think you're going to see Alabama again. Hopefully, you won't see Oklahoma. Hopefully, Oklahoma gets a 2-year playoff ban. They should not be in the playoff anymore. I know this is going to sound like I'm super biased towards the SEC, but have a rematch of the SEC championship instead of putting Oklahoma in there. It's not worth having Oklahoma in there. They're going to give up 50, 60 points every single time they play, and they're going to score about 30. That's just what's going to happen. Every single time Oklahoma plays a big-time team, they just don't have it. Put another SEC team in there. Put Oregon in there. Put someone else other than Oklahoma. Put Georgia in there. I mean, I don't even think Georgia's that good, but they're better than Oklahoma. You gotta give yourself some variety. I think Ohio State will be back as well. Obviously, we can talk about that as the season approaches. But in conclusion, I want to say LSU is the better team. You have to give credit where credit is due. LSU made the plays when they needed to make the plays. National championship games come down to just a few plays, a few moments, and LSU made them, and Clemson didn't. And that all that credit goes to LSU and their coaching staff for what they did. So, with that being said, a farewell to the 2020 season, and the 2020-2021 season really cannot come quick enough. And as I said earlier, we will be doing some more podcast installments as the season comes along, or as the season comes closer into August and September. Hopefully we have a Week 0 matchup again next year. The Week 0 this year was great. All right, so y'all have a good day, and go Tigers.